Hi guys. Hey everyone, good to see you all here. Thanks for joining. Give us a hello. Let us know where you're from on the live chat. All right. So, for today's lesson, we're going to be looking at airport vocabulary. So, for those of you who like to travel or are planning to travel in the future, this is a great lesson for you guys to see. And make sure that you take note of everything that we will be talking about. So, to get the most out of this life lesson, like I always say to you guys, make sure that you write down new words, you write down any new phrases that you've never heard of before or that you'd like to use in the future. And I also want you to participate in this lesson. I don't want you to just learn. I also want you to interact and get the most out of this lesson. And in order for you guys to do that, you need to form example sentences with these new words and these new phrases that I'm teaching you. And I want you to write them in the live chat if you can, because if you write them in the live chat, I will be able to go in and check them for you. So make sure to do that as well. And also make sure to rewatch the video in a few days to revise the lesson and remember what you learnt. Also, for people who are viewing this lesson after the live, also make sure to form some sentences and put them in the comments. I will go in and check them for you. So it's also a great opportunity for you guys to go ahead and practice some of these words and forming sentences for them. All right, so let's get started with the first one we're going to be looking at. All right, so the first thing we do before we get to the airport is we book a ticket, okay? So this is when you reserve a seat on a flight, either online or through a travel agency. And you can either book an economy class, business class, or first class ticket, okay? So economy is the cheapest and the most common. Business class is usually for people traveling for business purposes, and it's also usually towards the front of the plane. Usually you see those bigger seats at the front of the plane. That's normally business class. And it is more expensive than economy, so that's another difference there. Now, first class is probably the best option if you've got the money, but it is quite expensive. And it's also very spacious. This area is more luxurious and has better service. So I remember last year when I was traveling, I was on the Emirates airline, and I remember it was a double decker, so it was 2 stories. They had the level for the economy class and the business class, and then they had a level on top, or a story on top, in the double decker, which was for first class, and it almost looked like you were entering a hotel. So it looked very luxurious, but of course I didn't go there, but I was able to get a glimpse of it. So a glimpse is like a really quick look at something. I will write this word for you guys in the chat. So glimpse. Okay. Greetings, Angel. Good to see you here. Thanks for joining. All right. I've seen a few of you guys have joined. Fantastic. Thanks for joining, guys. All right, so the next word that we want to have a look at, check-in. So when you arrive at the airport, you need to go to the check-in desk to receive the boarding pass so you can board your flight. Here is where you weigh your luggage, such as your carry-on and your checked bag. So your carry-on is the smaller suitcase, usually that stays with you. You carry it onto the plane. So hence where they get the name carry-on bag or carry-on luggage. We call it carry-on because we carry it onto the plane with us, okay? It's usually around 7 kilograms, okay? So it's a lightweight bag. Then we have the checked bag. So this is the larger suitcase. It's normally 23 kilos. I mean, depending on the airline, but it's roughly between 23 to 30 kilos. And that gets checked in. So you have to check it in here, as you can see in this image. And then you pick it up once you arrive to your destination at the baggage claim. So you'll notice in this presentation, we've got some words here that I've put in bold, and we've also got some other words that you might not be too familiar with, but we're gonna go ahead and look at some of these words that I've made in bold later on in the presentation. But if there's any words that you're not sure about, make sure to ask me in the live chat as well. But yeah, we've got here carry it on, pick it up, so we've got some phrasal verbs here. All right. Oh, I can see an example sentence. Fantastic. I am carrying on a small bag, nothing else. Fantastic. Great sentence. All right. Next part. Departures. Okay, so this is where you go when you're traveling, where you go to board or to get on a plane when you are leaving a city or a country. Now, after you get to the departure point, you have to go through security. So we go through security, okay? Once we check in our luggage, we go to the departures area and pass through a metal detector, okay? And your carry-on will pass through, or we could say go through, an X-ray machine. So they do this for security purposes to make sure that we don't have any harmful tools or harmful objects, and that we're not carrying any liquids that are more than 100 milliliters as well. So this is all for security purposes. So we keep hearing this verb to board, okay? So when you enter or when you get onto a plane, you board it. This is the verb we use when talking about flights and getting on planes. We board the plane. Now, from this verb, we have the noun boarding pass. So this is the ticket that allows us to enter into a plane. It has your gate number and it has your seat number and other details on it like your flight number. And it also has the time you need to board the plane. So we call this the boarding time. The boarding time is the time you need to start entering the plane. This can be found on your boarding pass. So here I've got a little demonstration for you. So we've got here the flight, the gate, the date and the time, from where to where, the class and your seat. Okay, so usually they'll have boarding time 10:45. So you need to make sure that you're at your gate before 10:45 so that you can be there at the right time for boarding. Some additional vocabulary that talks about the airport. So I actually just mentioned this phrase, on time. This is when your flight is departing at the correct time. So you could say, my flight is departing at 10:45. It is on time. Okay, so if you guys want, give me a sentence in the live chat using some of these airport vocabulary words. So we're going to say, just looking at the live chat, we're going to say, where is the departure gate? We wouldn't say departure gate. Departure is the area. You would say, where is gate 16 probably. So gates are numbered. They have numbers from 1 to 20 or sometimes more depending on how big the airport is. But you would have on your boarding pass the gate number, and then if you wanted to ask where it is, you would say, where is gate 16? Yes, perfect. Thank you. All right, sometimes planes are running late or in other words, they are delayed. So this is when your flight is going to fly out later than planned. So again, let's say your flight was meant to be at 10:45 and they delay it till 11:30. So you're waiting an extra 45 minutes, so it's been delayed. So if you need to let your family or your friends or your partner know about your flight details and the time, you can say my flight has been delayed or my flight is running on time. I'm going to put these for you in the live chat actually. My flight is running on time. You could even say my flight has been delayed using the present perfect tense. All right. So now let's continue on to the next one. A long haul flight. This is a flight that lasts for a very long time without stopping. So whenever I'm traveling from a place that's really far from Australia, which is where I'm from, usually it's a long haul flight because Australia is very far from most countries. Okay, so a lot of the flights are around 15 hours or even more sometimes. So I take long haul flights to get to Australia. Okay, so let me know if you've ever been on a long haul flight and how long was this flight for and where did you travel to? Let me know in the live chat, guys. I've seen a few other people have joined us in the live chat. Fantastic. Welcome, guys. It is great to see you. Great to see that you've joined us. Amazing, amazing. Give us a hello in the live chat. We'd love to hear from you guys. And let's look at the next one now. Guys, if you've got any questions, feel free to add it in the live chat, okay? All right. So let's move on to the next one. So we have got here one-way ticket. No, sorry, stopover. All right, so stopover. Sometimes long-haul flights have stops in other countries for a few hours. Okay, so let's say you're on a long-haul flight. It's a 15-hour flight. Sometimes the plane needs to stop midway, maybe to fill up petrol or to, I don't know, have a bit of a break, or there needs to be some type of emergency landing. We would call this a stopover. Usually it's planned beforehand. It's not normally an emergency. But yeah, we would call this a stopover. So for example, let's say you're traveling from, South America to Australia. A stopover might be somewhere halfway, so maybe somewhere in Asia or in Europe. So you might stop in Frankfurt Airport in Germany, maybe, if you're catching an airline that usually stops there. That could be your stopover. We also have one-way tickets, so a ticket to go to a destination but not return. So this is just going one way, as the name would give to us. So it's a one-way ticket. The opposite of this is a return ticket. And we also have a two-way or a round-trip ticket. This is when flights are going to and from the same location of origin. So flights go to a certain destination and they come back to that location of origin. Two-way ticket. Airport vocabulary and phrases. So the traveler might say, where is the check-in desk? I need to check in my luggage. I need to check in my baggage, or I need to check in my bags. So we've got a few different words that we can use, and they all mean the same thing. So luggage, baggage, or bags. Now, notice here that luggage and baggage don't have an S at the end. This is because these words are uncountable, so you wouldn't add an S to them. Whether they are singular or plural, they remain like this without an S. whereas bags is countable, so you would add an S at the end, okay? So you might ask these questions. Where is the check-in desk? I need to check in my luggage, okay? What time is the plane boarding? What time is the plane boarding? So what time do we need to get onto the plane to get ready to fly out? What is my gate number? So this was the question that Angel was asking about. What is my gate number and where is my gate? Can I have an aisle seat? Or can I have a window seat? Requesting which seat you want. The aisle seat is the one closest to the aisle where the flight attendants walk and other passengers walk. How long is the stopover for? Will my luggage go straight through or will I pick it up again at my stopover? So we've got go through and pick it up. These are some common phrasal verbs that we're hearing. So these are common to hear in the airport. Let's look at some of the examples here. I have taken only national flights. Okay, here we're going to say I have only. So we're going to put only before the past participle. I have only taken national flights. Okay, I have only taken national flights. All right, and the last question that you might ask as a traveler, will my luggage go straight through or will I pick it up again at my stopover? So I'm just repeating that one for you guys because it is a really good one to know. Okay, it's got some really great phrasal verbs in there. All right, some airport vocabulary that some flight attendants might use. So some flight attendants might ask you, where are you traveling to? Can you please show me your ID or your passport? How many pieces of luggage? How many bags do you want to check in today? So remember guys, I said to you that luggage is uncountable. So if you want to ask about multiple bags or pieces of luggage, we're going to use pieces here as the countable. How many pieces of luggage? Or you could say, how many bags do you want to check in? Normally, I hear, how many bags do you want to check in? This is the more common one. Show me your boarding pass, please. So this is when you get to the gate and you need to show your boarding pass before you come in. They might ask you at security or at the check-in, they might ask you, did you pack this bag yourself? Do you have anything to declare? If you have anything to declare, that means you have something that you need to be honest about or something that you need to notify the officers about, okay? It might be something like cigarettes. It might be something related to a liquid that is over 100 ml, or it might be something that you're not sure about. It may be illegal. So some countries don't allow certain products to enter because they try to control the borders and they don't want any type of new, for example, virus or pests coming into their country. So they try to control this as much as possible. Okay. Did you pack this bag yourself? Do you have anything to declare? So we've mentioned that question. The next one, what is the purpose of your trip? So again, officers want to know, just for border security, sometimes they want to know why you're traveling to a certain country. So some of your answers might be for a holiday, for tourism, to visit family, for work. So just make sure that you're always honest with the flight attendants and with the officers as well. So these are some questions that officers at the airport might ask. All right, we've got a great example here. I am traveling to Brazil for meeting my English teacher. Oh, how lovely. That would be great. So let me just correct that sentence for you. I am traveling to Brazil is correct. Now, Brazil in English has a Z, not an S. I am traveling to Brazil to meet, okay, to meet my English teacher. Perfect. All right. Some announcements that you might hear at the airport. So these announcements you hear all the time when you're traveling, and you hear them in English because obviously English is the universal language. So most airports around the world are going to have these announcements, and it's important that you know them because they notify you of any changes or updates that are happening. So here are some of the announcements. Do not leave any bags unattended. They're constantly reminding us not to forget our bags or not to lose our bags. Flight LA 3726 has been delayed. You're going to hear that. So they're going to call out the flight number and they're going to notify us of what is happening. And if that flight happens to be yours, you need to make sure that you're listening. So always make sure to listen. So it can say flights have been delayed, a flight can be cancelled, or you might hear flight LA 3726 to New York is now boarding, which means if this is your flight, you need to get to your gate as soon as possible. You need to be very quick, okay? Some other announcements you might hear. Please have your boarding pass and identification ready for boarding. We would like to invite our first and business class passengers to board. So this is when you're at the gate, they're going to start telling you who's going to enter. We are now inviting passengers with small children and any passengers requiring special assistance to begin boarding. So passengers requiring special assistance, this might be people that have some type of disability. Maybe they're using a wheelchair, maybe they're ill, maybe they're older, maybe they're pregnant women. So it just depends. Different people have different requirements. And you might hear, we would now like to invite all passengers to board. You may also hear, this is the final boarding call. So this is like the final warning. This is the final boarding call for United Airlines flight LA 3726 to New York, okay? So you might hear this as well. So you need to make sure that you're listening at the airport, and you need to make sure you understand these announcements, which is why you guys have joined me for this lesson. All right. Some great reasons for traveling, okay, for a vacation, for business, for a meeting, great. All right, now I've taken this from a Google search, and this is a demonstration of some of the vocabulary that you might need inside the airplane. So let's start with here. So aisle seat, so this is the seat next to the aisle where people walk past. Window seat, the seat closest to the window, and this is called a window blind. Sometimes flight attendants ask us to pull up the window blind or to pull down the window blind, okay? So pull up and pull down. They might also ask us to fasten our seat belts, okay? So make sure to pay attention to that. There's also a sign usually on the top part of the plane as well and above us that tells us to fasten our seat belts. We also have an emergency exit. We need to know about this as well. A lavatory, which is also known as the toilet or the bathroom, depending on which type of English you speak. Americans call it a lavatory, I believe, whereas in Australia you'd probably call it a toilet or a bathroom. A life preserver or a life vest, we could say a life vest. Flight attendant. The seat pocket where the menu is, sometimes there's a pamphlet with information on it, and you can put some of your things in there as well if you'd like. A tray, so a pull-out tray, this is where you can eat. It's where you can put your meal. as you can see here, and you can put your coffee or your water. Usually we'll have a TV screen here, but this image doesn't really show that. And you are the passenger, and this is a blanket. So it gets a little bit cold sometimes in the airplane, so sometimes you need to put your blanket on to make you feel snug, okay? Is there a synonym for the word boarding? It's probably, we would just really say boarding when you're talking about traveling and being in the airport. Flying out, that's probably a synonym, but it's not really used a lot. It's a very casual way of speaking. We would normally use boarding. Great question though. All right, airplane phrases. So, some airplane phrases here. What's your seat number? So a flight attendant might ask you, what's your seat number? My seat number is 23E, for example. Could you please put that in the overhead locker? The overhead locker is that compartment above your head where, so hence where we get overhead from, where you can put your carry-on or you can put your bag, and you need to close it after you put your bag in there. So it's the overhead locker. Can you please put that in the overhead locker? Please pay attention to this short safety demonstration. So this is what the flight attendant does right before we depart, right before we take off. So we're going to learn that word in a bit. So could you please, please pay attention to this short safety demonstration. So this is when the flight attendant is showing us what we need to do in case of an emergency and what we need to do to comply with the plane policies and rules. You might be asked to turn off all mobile phones and electronic devices. Sometimes if the flight is long, there will be some food. So the flight attendant might ask you, would you like any food or would you like any refreshments? You will hear through the microphone, we will be landing in about 15 minutes and the local time is 4:45 p.m. So you might hear this type of announcement. You might also hear flight attendants say, please fasten your seatbelt and return your seat to the upright position. This means that you need to make sure that your seat is up straight rather than kind of on an angle. So sometimes we push it out a little bit while we're watching TV or while we're sleeping. So when we are about to land or when we're going to take off, we need to make sure that our seat is in the upright position, okay? Please stay in your seat until the aircraft has come to a complete standstill. So this means that the aircraft is not moving or the airplane is not moving. And the fasten seatbelt sign has been switched off. This is another word for turned off, to switch off or to turn off. We thank you for flying with, maybe, for example, United Airlines, so the name of the airline. We thank you for flying with us. Airplane phrases that you might need as a passenger. So you might need to ask them, how long is our flight and are there any stopovers? How long till arrival? Can I have a blanket, headphones, the menu? And make sure you use please with these phrases. You could also use may I instead of can I. It's a bit more formal and it's a little bit more polite as well, but both are great to use. May I have a coffee with milk? May I have some water, please? Another great expression that you can use is can I trouble you with? So can I trouble you with another cup of water, please? Can I trouble you with a blanket? You can also say, I'll have, when they ask you what type of food you want, you can say, I'll have the chicken meal. Oh, actually, you know what? I'll have the beef meal. And again, we're using please at the end of it. So, like I said earlier, we're going to be looking at some other vocab words like take off. This is when the plane is getting ready to fly out. So it's ready to leave the ground and go up into the air. So this is take off. Landing is the opposite. This is when the plane is ready to land or when the plane is ready to arrive at the destination. So take off, going up into the air. Landing is going down to the ground and landing. All right. Next one. Customs. So once we land at our destination, customs is the area where you will be met by a customs officer once you enter a new country. So while you're at the airport, you have to go through customs to make sure that you are allowed to enter the country, okay? This is where the officer might ask you why you have decided to come to this country, what your trip will be about, and the purpose of your trip. Baggage claim, this is where you collect or where you pick up. So we've got those two verbs, you either collect or you pick up. Both mean the same thing in this instance. Your checked bags, okay? So there is big bags, right? So this is where you collect them. Baggage claim, okay? We can also call it a baggage belt or a conveyor belt. Both are correct. The arrivals area is the opposite of the departures area. This is where you exit out of the inside part of the airport and you go out into the area where people are waiting. So where friends and family meet someone when they arrive to their destination. Okay, so a word equivalent to fasten your seatbelt. We don't really have a word similar to that one. Fasten your seatbelt is just like put your seatbelt on, basically. That would be the similar alternative. Okay, so put your seatbelt on. Bonus phrases that you can use. So this is what you can say to people before they travel. So as you're saying bye to someone and they're traveling, you can say to them, have a safe trip. You can say to them, safe travels. You can say, message me when you get there. You can say, enjoy your holiday, enjoy your time, or enjoy your trip. And you can also say, can't wait to see you when you get back, and I want to hear all about your trip. Okay? So these are some really good phrases that you can use. I hope you guys found this lesson interesting. I hope that you learned something from this lesson. I'm sure there's a few phrases that you've learned and a few vocabulary as well. So make sure to revise this in a few days. Give this video a thumbs up. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it and if you learned something from it. And feel free to share this video with your friends if you feel like this will benefit them. Also, in the description box, I have a form that I would love for you guys to fill out. So if you could just go ahead and click the link for this form and fill it out, it will only take a few minutes. It would really mean a lot to me and I would really appreciate it. So go ahead and do that if you've got the time. And leave me a comment letting me know what you would like to see for our next live lesson, which will be held next Tuesday at 3 p.m. again, so same time as today. So make sure to let me know what you would like us to do. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much, guys. See ya.